Good morning, everybody. Look at this. It's 9 a.m. in Vegas. So, quick, you know what they say? Know your audience. So, agency folks, agencies, hands up. Okay, just a few agencies wandered in. Great. Brands. How many brands are here? Brands. Okay, and how many were you just at the craps table and decided to come in and try to change your luck? Okay, I knew it. I kind of knew it. Great. Oh yeah, look at this. AI and advertising. Prepare for tectonic disruption. So. Yeah, so let's get this kicked off. Why tectonic? Well, I used the adjective tectonic to describe AI's impact on advertising because of its breadth, its depth, and the sort of overall impact it's going to have on this sector. And it's literally going to like shake the industry. Oh, good, we got subwoofers, always handy. And this stands in stark contrast to what I describe as false positives. Things like, that people in the marketing world love the shiny new object, and they're always trying to say something is going to change the world, and yet they're not disciplined enough to like really take a hard look at it. Like, 5G is going to change the world. Poop. IoT, because we need smart toasters. Poop. There's audio on here, by the way. VR, because we're all going to walk around with headsets. Poop. And then the granddaddy of them all, Web 3.0. That's not just poop, folks. That's stinking poop. And again, everyone was trying to convince you, marketers, that you needed to spend in these categories because it was the new thing and everyone should get on board. And we instead, in real time, called these things out as the charlatans that they are. And with at the ANA, I sort of told all these room full of marketers that by all means, if you want to, fly around and be cool talking on stages about Web3, by all means, have at it. But know that every dollar that you put in that category, you're lighting it on fire. And I think it's really important, by the way, to call both balls and strikes. So yeah, 0 is what you're going to get. So what I'm going to cover today is a framework for use cases, impact on outcomes, the ecosystem, and M&A, my favorite topic, by the way, and some consequences for the constituents. What I'm going to leave to others is all kinds of interesting issues about AI, which, if I had the stage the whole day, Mark, next year, the whole day. Okay, good. We could get covered. So that's me on the left, and guys like Sally Palmer can do a good job of the stuff on the right. Now, how you'll hear it is going to be decidedly different from a normal presentation and certainly an investment banker presentation. So I use animations and sound effects to capture your attention, and I use graphics and humor to capture your retention. Trust me, it's science. We have been talking about AI for a decade, even so much as 10 years ago, naming AI as the single most important long-term trend in advertising. So we've sort of been on this for a while. And look, whilst we have done, thank you NBC for that IP ripoff, we have done deals across all sectors of the advertising ecosystem, from data to mobile app and CTV. Lately, our activity has been in AI, and we're going to do a lot more. And whilst we've achieved sort of higher than average multiples, these are net revenue multiples, like mid to high single digits for these categories. It's even higher still for AI, and it's going to go higher. There's only one thing wrong with this green box. Not big enough. We're going to be doing AI deals for quite some period of time. Now, there are 3 words that I use, and I think anybody responsible when they talk about AI should use with frequency on this topic. And the 3 words are, I don't know. I don't know, you don't know, your CMO doesn't know, your agency doesn't know, your tech vendor doesn't know, heck, Sam Altman doesn't know.
Terry is right. I don't know.
Because it's so new. It's all new. It's new to everybody, right? So everyone's trying to figure it out in real time. But one thing is clear. AI's application to advertising looks like a perfect hand-in-glove fit. The large spend, the massive data pools, and the full spectrum of outcomes. You either convert the user or you don't. And yes, we have all the indicia of AI hype, especially on valuations. But I think we're also going to see and are seeing the AI reality. And we're going to see a lot more of that, I believe, in 2026. Now, normally, a new technology has an adoption curve that looks roughly like a bell curve. We believe AI is going to sort of pull it forward because of the sort of heightened and accelerated tech cycle. So you could suggest that you are here in the curve, or are you here? Because, you know, the Gartner hype cycle certainly applies here too. So I think we have a little bit of both. We've got the hype, but we also have the reality. How much? I don't know. You're going to hear me say that quite a bit. So this stat, this survey said that 94% of all marketers are using AI on a weekly basis. I don't know what the other 6% are doing. You know, you could put them in a category of dumb and dumber. Now, every time there's a new technology, they like to confuse you with new terminology. And by the way, confusing terminology with new terms you haven't heard before. Relax. What I tell people is, you know what? I did a translator to help you out. So every term that they use in AI world has an equivalent in the ad world. So these things are not that foreign in terms of concepts. And ultimately, it comes down to model context protocol translating into ad context protocol. You're going to hear a lot more about ad context protocol, both at CES and in the months to come. So when I think about a framework for AI's applications, I love to use the Maslow's hierarchy of needs because I love Maslow. It's a great paradigm, and you know, like the original, as you move up the pyramid, it becomes more impactful. So we've got the base layer of what I call the meat and potatoes of advertising: workflow, audience data, measurement, media buying. Next up is, you know, content, creative, and communications. Third is AI, internet navigation. And then finally, I don't know, an unknown category because this is a powerful new technology. So at the base layer, look, you're all very familiar in the ad world with the sort of very manual, sequential process of doing planning, targeting, buying, optimizing, and reporting on media. And it's no question that software, and in particular AI software that's autonomous, is going to do a better job. And if you were paying attention, yes, there are fewer bodies in the AI world versus the old world. By the way, note to all agency CEOs that run their business on an FTE model. If you're charging on FTEs, there's fewer FTEs in the blue category than the orange category. It's just math. So let's think about maybe that model. That's a different presentation, by the way, which I highly encourage agency folks to consider. Okay, how much? I don't know. So next up is content, ad, creative, and communication. And I like to think of this category like the analogy I use here is an iceberg. So the part that you see above the waterline is the no-brainer stuff around reducing costs of production. It's very clear that AI is going to be able to, you know, generate creatives and content a lot cheaper and faster, and all in the name of efficiency. And by the way, by all means, please do that. However, I believe the real value comes in what you don't see, what's below the water surface, and that is the data that indicates which creatives will in fact convert, because we know that creative is at least half of the goes into sort of what drives a conversion of an ad. So all in the name of effectiveness. So you can think of the top category as tactical and the bottom as strategic. Now, on the web, we've got this perverse navigation paradigm that has existed since the start of the web, where we find a consumer that we want to reach and convert, and we find them wherever they are, whatever they're doing across the internet and otherwise, and we drive them to a website so that we can convert them. Really? Much better if you go to where they are and get your message in front of them, because it's got a variety of benefits. I'll read them for you since they're off the page. You go to the user, it's a one-on-one conversation, a shorter path to conversion, and at the end you leave them wherever they wanted to be in the first instance. So if someone's doom scrolling on TikTok, leave them on TikTok after they have purchased your good. And yes, it comes in two flavors, co-pilots and agents. You're going to hear a lot about agents this week. Let's not assume that the whole world is going to go totally autonomous and agentic overnight. It's simply not, I don't believe. And yeah, there we go. A little clap from the back. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit tired of having to prove that I'm not a robot everywhere I go on the internet. I am quite frankly looking forward to the day when the agents have to prove that they're not human. Okay, so internet navigation. This is the big one. This is going from the Google blue links in search to chat. And here the drivers are technology. We've got an unprecedented consumer adoption curve now approaching 1 billion weekly users, new interfaces from the consumer interfaces you're familiar with, but also B2B and now browsers. And then we're seeing a variety, a panoply of monetization models, including big companies like Microsoft getting in the game, where they're going to figure out whether it's by context or IP licensing or different ways to sort of monetize this new sort of answers economy. So you can think of these four as tech, traction, surfaces, and models. And based back on the topic of models, it's very clear that if you look at the funding of these LLMs, the massive amounts of money that's been raised and the necessary return on that capital, what's very clear is that this isn't going to come from paid subscribers, right? And when you add in, these four big tech companies are spending over $350 billion a year on AI. So clearly, we believe our conclusion is, oh, and by the way, the rumors are that OpenAI is raising get this, $100 billion round of financing. 100 billion. By the way, if there's an investment bank involved, 1%, do the math. Okay, so we conclude that all roads will lead to advertising. Just like media companies and other companies that had different models coming into advertising, we believe the LLMs will all also pursue advertising. And then the final category, remember there was that last one at the end. Please say hello to our original Secretary of War, Donald Rumsfeld, who was famous for his quote around unknown unknowns, the things that you don't know. And I'm quite certain that with this powerful technology and the speed of the adoption, the technology revolution, that we're clearly gonna, we have some unknowns in AI. How much, I don't know. Okay, so there it is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think Abraham Maslow would be proud. So in AI, there's a variety of issues from IP credit challenges, agentic governance, that's going to be a big one. You'll hear a lot about search and web disruptions, as I just mentioned, and quite frankly, an innovator's dilemma around existing players. What do you do when the business model fundamentally changes? But I think the single most important issue facing AI is that of trust. How do you trust this new technology, especially if it's hands-off? And speaking of trust, here are the leading sources of intelligence across these LLMs. They're mostly UGC, so nothing wrong with UGC per se, but if we're holding that out to be our be-all and end-all expert, that sort of evokes the issue of trust. All data is not created equal. In our digital advertising ecosystem, we have what I would describe as a layered series of proxies. So what is an impression? First of all, impression is the times 1,000 is the M in CPM. So the impression is the base currency of our industry. And yet, what is an impression? It's a proxy for a viewable impression. What is a viewable impression? Well, it's a proxy for attention. And then, context is a proxy for audience. And audience is a proxy for intent. And intent, ladies and gentlemen, is the golden elixir that drives outcomes. And at the end of the day, what is an outcome? An outcome is simply advertising perfected, right? It worked. Now think of that sort of, speaking of intent, think of how intent is going to work in an AI world. Back in the Google search days, today, if someone entered the keyword phrase, Cleveland divorce lawyer, Google knew three things about that person. They live in Cleveland, they got in a divorce, and they need a lawyer. I'm going to submit that there are no casual searchers for the keyword phrase Cleveland divorce lawyer. If you live in Indianapolis and you're happily married, you ain't entering that search term. So with that incredible signal, every single divorce lawyer in Cleveland buys this keyword combination to the nth degree, right? They do it buy it to the efficient frontier. Now think of it, so it's a very high intent signal. It's why Google built a massive $250 billion business. Now think of that in an AI context. In chat, the same user is going to start with on average a 25-word initial chat prompt, and then they're going to follow it up with multiple prompts. So the signal is going to be even higher. So AI is made for advertising, and advertising is made for AI. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg thinks it's going to fundamentally change the sort of nature of ad spend to GDP growth. One thing is certain, can't ignore it, right? This is not something we can just take a pass and say, nah, I'm gonna sit this one out, this AI trend. It has implications across a variety of aspects of the industry, from corporate development all the way through to ecosystem revolution. All right. Companies always have an option to build versus buy, but I'm going to suggest that in an AI context, it's build fast or buy fast. And there are certain advantages to buy in an environment where the tech cycle is this rapid. You have, building is difficult because hiring is expensive and challenging to get engineers. You've got the risk of product market fit. How do you know that the people that you hired and the product that they built is in fact going to work? And then finally, and this is the most important one, something I call talent adverse selection. The best AI engineers are not coming to work for you for a W-2 salary, okay? Sorry. The best ones are going to launch their own startup. You can buy them. By the way, why is that better? Of course, an M&A guy saying go to M&A instead of build. No kidding. But here you get talent pro selection. You get the better engineers. You reduce the product market fit risk because you don't have to buy every company. You wait and see which ones get traction, and you can buy that one. And of course, speed to market. And another consequence is it really shortens the life of some of these AI companies. They require less capital, fewer people, and ultimately it's a shorter path to exit. We sold this company, Greenbids, at 2.5 years since it started. I'm gonna skip this one for the sake of time. So let's go right to the AI LUMAscape. So we published the AI LUMAscape in November. And, we told the world we were doing this. It caused everyone and their sister to come in and pitch their wares so that they could prove their AI bona fides. And let me tell you something. You want to talk about attention. This thing garnered 1.6 million interactions on LinkedIn alone. So we've obviously ignited something's going on here. And people have come to me and said, wait, how can you decide which companies deserve to be on the AI LUMAscape and which ones are not? And we're like, well, we're not technologists, so we don't have the time or the bandwidth or perhaps even the capability to assess every one of these companies. And I'll go ahead and admit that we probably let some give some a pass and put them on, assuming that what they told us was true. But here's my test. I don't have to assess the technology. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait a couple of quarters, and then any companies that don't fit the following requirements, we're going to remove from the AI LUMAscape. It's going to be dynamic. And those requirements are, it's going to manifest in the company's financials in the form of higher operating leverage, faster growth, higher margins. But the key one, I think, is greater revenue to FTE ratio. That's the litmus test, folks. So everyone's talking about AI. We got awesome AI. We got groundbreaking AI. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So you know what 2026 is? It's the year of Jerry Maguire.
Show me the money!
Show me the money. That's what I'm telling everybody. Show me the money. All right. So we know that outcomes are better than proxies. And in an AI context, we think this really brings this to the fore. So we've been talking about this for quite some period of time. In fact, suggesting to marketers at the ANA in 2018 that DTC was all the craze, and we said, yeah, go back even further. Go back to the mobile gaming advertisers, because they're essentially the canaries in the coal mine that figured out how data and performance works in spades. And yes, performance has tended to be thought of as a deterministic sort of solution, as opposed to probabilistic. Probabilistic is better in some ways, and yet has its own flaws. We believe AI is going to supercharge probabilistic to be able to deliver on outcomes. And at the end of the day, this is extremely powerful. So if you, how am I going to do this in the next 5 minutes? Okay. With AI, we believe the open internet can compete with the walled gardens. We know that the traffic is going in the wrong direction. It's going towards hedge gardens, towards walled gardens. But here are the attributes that the walled gardens have. They have these 5 key attributes. Oh, yeah, you can see 2 of them. Scaled inventory, supply side signal, horizontal presence, closed loop of data, and proprietary AI engine. And we believe that we can now with AI largely replicate these 5. By the way, anybody interested in this presentation or a slightly earlier version of it, I have it online. So if anybody wants the link, we can send it. Wow, great. Brand Innovators. Mark will send it around to anybody who's interested. And if you don't believe me that this is the case, it's already been done. AppLovin, a mobile ad network, circa 2012, replicated all 5 of these attributes using both organic build and a lot of M&A. How do we know this? We were their advisor. How did this M&A driven strategy work out for them? Well, the company is on a 72% compound annual growth rate of revenue since they launched their Axon 2.0. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a company with a $214 billion valuation, which is greater than the market capitalization of every single one of their public competitors, plus every single advertising holding company, with enough left over to buy a few trinkets: Pinterest, SiriusXM, Snap, and the New York Times. This mobile ad network company now has a market cap greater than Disney. Not bad, right? Ladies, in my pitches, what I said to my my partner was, this is the best M&A case study ever. Okay, so another thing AI does, in 1 minute, is connects the bottom and the top of the funnel by basically allowing you to buy on predictive guarantees and shortening the purchase funnel. And one company that's exhibited this the best is Amazon. Its stock is up 29-fold since September of 2010. Why do I say September 2010? Because imagine if you were only able to invest in Amazon stock here. If only someone had told you that Amazon was going to launch a media business and connect the 2 ends of the funnel.
Hi, my name is Terence Kawaja, and I run.
I'll save you this. This is a much younger version of me in September of 2010 at Google Zeitgeist, suggesting
when you change the
that
top layer,
Amazon was going to go into media because it logically made sense. And back then, of course, they had 0 revenues in media, and today they have 60 billion. So it just made logical sense, and it was seen as heretical at the time. So, all right, we'll move on. Here's the thing. When you can show a direct connection between spend and results, you fundamentally change the nature of advertising from a discretionary expense to a cost of goods sold. You effectively move it up the income statement, which is why Adam Ferogi, founder and CEO of AppLovin, is advertising sexiest man alive. Again, $220 billion market cap. That's pretty incredible. There it is, canary in the coal mine. All right, let's, and I believe, and we'll wrap with this. I believe that this connecting spend with results will mend the very fractured CMO-CFO relationship, right? You don't have a good scorecard, both tenure, CMOs never become CEOs, and I would argue they're not even taken seriously by the board. In an outcomes era, we believe that the CMO is aligned with the CFO. They effectively become the chief growth officer, and that they earn the respect of the board. So that ought to be the rationale why every brand marketer in here ought to embrace this particular trend. AI, this is the big one, folks. Thank you very much.